If you are a man over 60, stop what you are doing right now and listen to this very carefully. The absolute biggest, most dangerous mistake you can make at this point in your life isn't losing your life savings in a bad investment. It isn't taking a sudden hit to your physical health. It isn't even ending up living all by yourself in a quiet house. The single worst mistake you can make right now is opening your front door to the wrong woman and sitting back while she quietly, systematically guts the exact peace of mind you spent 6 long decades working to build. That might sound harsh, aggressive, or even uncomfortable to hear, but stay with me until the very end of this video. The uncomfortable truth we are about to unpack today could easily save you from years of hidden regret, endless energy drain, and total emotional exhaustion. Let's cut through the noise and be completely honest about something most people are simply too afraid to say out loud. By the time you reach 60, life completely changes its dynamic. You are no longer living to chase cheap thrills. You aren't trying to prove your masculinity to anyone, and you certainly don't need to impress a room full of strangers anymore. You have already survived your fair share of victories, crushing disappointments, heavy responsibilities, and sacrifices. You have been through the fire, and because of that, you know what actually matters in this world. At this stage of the game, your most valuable assets aren't sitting in a bank account or parked in a garage. Your real wealth consists of your peace of mind, your physical health, your personal freedom, your time, and your simple ability to wake up every single morning without feeling an ounce of unnecessary pressure. Yet, so many senior men willingly gamble those priceless assets away the exact second they decide to jump back into the dating pool. They fall into the trap of believing that companionship will automatically bring them instant happiness, warmth, and comfort. Sometimes it actually does, but more often than not, what starts as lighthearted companionship slowly morphs into heavy obligations, constant demands, and severe emotional strain. The real tragedy here is that most men never even see it happening until the bill arrives, and by then, the cost is far too steep to ignore. That is why understanding this hidden threat isn't just a casual piece of advice. It is an absolute necessity for protecting the rest of your life. The high price of emotional exhaustion. By the time you reach 60, the fundamental purpose of your daily life shifts entirely. You are no longer living to chase superficial thrills. You aren't trying to prove your manhood to anyone, and you certainly don't have the patience to play psychological mind games anymore. You have already fought your hardest battles, carried heavy burdens, paid your dues, and survived the chaos of youth. At this exact stage of your life, your true net worth cannot be measured by the balance in your bank account, the car in your driveway, or the size of your house. Your real wealth is found in your physical health, your personal autonomy, your precious time, and the quiet, unbroken solitude of your mornings. Yet, far too many older men constantly gamble these exact priceless assets away in a desperate attempt to find companionship. What almost always starts as light, harmless dating rapidly transforms into a demanding, full-time, unpaid job. Before you even realize what is happening, you find yourself spending your days managing someone else's unpredictable moods, resolving senseless arguments that you never even created, and constantly walking on eggshells inside your own home just to keep a temporary peace. You end up carefully measuring every single word you speak, filtering your true thoughts, and sacrificing your own calm just to prevent unnecessary friction. What these men fail to realize until it is far too late is that after 60, your energy is no longer a limitless resource. When you were in your 20s or 30s, you had the metabolic drive and mental stamina to bounce back from relationship drama, late night arguments, and constant emotional roller coasters. Today, that exact same emotional strain doesn't just fade away overnight. It lingers in your mind, ruins your sleep, drains your vitality, and degrades your daily quality of life. Wasting your limited remaining energy on avoidable relationship turmoil isn't just tiring, It is completely foolish, and it drains the very battery you need to enjoy your golden years. Financial traps in your golden years. The second massive danger every man over 60 must confront is financial vulnerability inside a new relationship. Let's cut right to the chase and be entirely realistic. Taking a financial hit at 60 years old is an entirely different nightmare than taking a hit when you are 30. When you are young, a bad financial decision or an expensive mistake is just a temporary setback because you still have a 30-year career ahead of you to work longer hours, rebuild your savings, and earn that money back. After 60, the clock has officially run down. Your retirement income is largely fixed, your savings have a very specific purpose, and every single dollar you possess is supposed to guarantee your future security, your medical care, and your comfort. Financial ruin in a late life relationship almost never happens in one dramatic, sudden event. Instead, it bleeds out so slowly and subtly that you don't notice the damage until the wound is already deep. It starts with small, harmless gestures, paying for a nice dinner here, covering a weekend trip there, picking up an unexpected tab, or helping out with a minor personal expense, simply because you want to be a generous partner. None of these actions seem dangerous in isolation, which is precisely why they are so lethal to your financial security over time. Slowly but surely, those small, voluntary courtesies morph into rigid, expected obligations. A financial rhythm gets established, and before long, you find yourself spending money not because you genuinely want to, but because you feel obligated to maintain the relationship or keep the peace. Deep-seated loneliness has a nasty habit of clouding a smart man's judgment, convincing him to ignore glaring financial warning signs and burn through his hard-earned retirement money just to hold on to a fleeting sense of affection. The harsh reality you must remember is simple. When a bad relationship finally breaks apart, the emotional pain will eventually fade with time, but the financial wreckage you leave behind will stay with you for the rest of your life. Surrendering your hard-earned freedom. The third silent killer that far too many older men completely overlook is the gradual, quiet loss of their daily personal independence. Before you decide to bring a new girlfriend into your life, your daily time belongs entirely and unconditionally to you. You wake up whenever your body feels like waking up, you eat whatever foods you actually enjoy, and you spend your free afternoons exactly how you choose. Whether you want to spend an entire day out on the fishing boat, hit 9 holes at the golf course, hit the gym, or simply sit on your back porch in total silence for 3 hours, you can do it instantly without asking for anyone's permission, making excuses, or providing a detailed itinerary. That effortless freedom might seem ordinary while you have it, but after the age of 60, it represents one of the absolute highest forms of wealth a man can ever possess. The problem is that every single romantic relationship, no matter how good it seems at first, instantly demands a massive amount of compromise. The moment you enter a relationship, your schedule is no longer exclusively yours. Suddenly, daily plans must be coordinated, schedules must be constantly negotiated, and your entire routine has to adjust to accommodate someone else's preferences, expectations, and unpredictable emotional states. What used to be a smooth, peaceful, and entirely predictable day suddenly becomes an ongoing exercise in management and explanation. After spending 4 or 5 decades working under demanding bosses, sacrificing for employers, raising children, paying off mortgages, and carrying heavy family responsibilities on your shoulders, you have finally arrived at a chapter in life where you can live completely on your own terms. Surrendering that hard-won personal autonomy is something you should weigh with extreme caution. Giving up your peaceful personal rhythm just to fit into someone else's daily demands will almost always leave you sitting in a noisy, complicated life, deeply missing the very freedom you so carelessly threw away. Mistaking cheap attention for real respect. The fourth massive psychological trap that catches countless men over 60 completely off guard is confusing basic, surface level attention with genuine, deep respect. After transitioning into retirement, going through a painful late life divorce, or enduring the heartbreaking loss of a longtime spouse, the sudden quiet in your life can feel overwhelming. In that vulnerable state, having a new woman compliment your appearance, text you constantly throughout the day, and show intense romantic interest in you feels absolutely incredible. It provides an immediate rush of ego validation, reminding you that you are still desirable, still capable, and still noticed by the world. However, you must learn to see through the illusion and understand the massive difference between attention and respect. Basic attention is remarkably cheap, incredibly easy to give, and usually disappears the very second circumstances become slightly uncomfortable or demanding. True respect, on the other hand, is rare, solid, and remains strong even when emotions fluctuate or disagreements arise. Men who are starving for emotional validation often become so blinded by temporary attention that they willingly overlook massive, obvious red flags. They start tolerating rude remarks, accepting boundary violations, and inventing endless excuses for behavior that actively ruins their daily tranquility, all because they are terrified that speaking up will cause that flattering attention to stop. If this message is hitting home for you right now, take 2 seconds to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss our next deep dive into protecting your peace. At this point in your life, you cannot afford to trade your self respect for cheap validation. When a man becomes attached to surface level attention, he slowly trades away his core dignity just to keep someone interested in him. The wisest men over 60 understand that attention should never be the reason you allow someone permanent access to your personal life. If a woman does not genuinely respect your time, your hard earned boundaries, your quiet routines, and the peaceful world you worked an entire lifetime to build, then her attention is completely worthless, and keeping her around will cost you far more than you will ever gain. Loneliness versus true purpose. One of the most dangerous, self destructive traps a man over 60 can ever fall into is mistaking simple, temporary loneliness for a genuine need to get into a relationship. The underlying problem here is that loneliness is a master of disguise. It rarely shows up and explicitly says, I need personal growth. Instead, it hides behind a quiet house, a completely empty afternoon schedule, or the sudden loss of daily structure that hits you right after you step into retirement. When you go from decades of daily work routines, meetings, and constant social interactions to suddenly staring at four quiet walls, the resulting silence can feel uncomfortable and unsettling. In that exact moment, your mind tricks you into believing that bringing a girlfriend into the mix will solve all of your problems. However, you must understand a fundamental truth before you make a massive mistake. A romantic partner can never fix an empty inner life. Expecting a new woman to act as your primary source of entertainment, your sole reason for waking up happy, and your entire emotional anchor places a completely unrealistic and impossible burden on her shoulders. That kind of pressure inevitably crushes the relationship, creating resentment and guaranteed disappointment for both of you. A girlfriend cannot magically grant you a sense of purpose, nor can she build a meaningful life for you. The most deeply fulfilled, happy, and respected men over 60 understand this reality inside and out. They never look for a woman to rescue them from boredom or distract them from an empty schedule. Instead, they take full responsibility for their own lives and build a baseline existence that they genuinely love waking up to every single day. They invest their energy into cultivating strong, reliable friendships, pursuing deep personal hobbies, staying active, setting new personal goals, and building daily routines that give their life real weight and meaning. Once you construct a fulfilling life on your own terms, your entire dynamic with women completely changes. You no longer date out of desperate need. You date out of careful selection. You only invite a woman into your life if she genuinely adds value, comfort, and joy to an already amazing foundation. The physical toll of relationship drama. An aspect of late life dating that almost nobody talks about, yet carries devastating consequences, is the brutal physical toll that constant emotional stress takes on your aging body. When you were back in your 20s or 30s, your physical body was far more resilient. You could easily stay up half the night having an intense argument, swallow the frustration, get 4 hours of sleep, and still drag yourself to work the next morning with minimal damage. Your nervous system absorbed the blow, recovered quickly, and allowed you to push forward as if nothing had ever happened. Once you pass the age of 60, the physiological biological equation changes dramatically. Your body simply no longer absorbs high levels of stress the way it used to, and chronic relationship tension produces immediate, measurable, and dangerous physical costs. Every single unnecessary argument, every cold shoulder, every passive aggressive comment, and every emotionally chaotic evening triggers a massive surge of cortisol and adrenaline through your bloodstream. Over time, this constant state of fight or flight elevates your blood pressure, completely ruins your natural sleep cycles, destroys your energy levels, causes chronic inflammation, and actively wears down your immune system. At this precise chapter of your life, protecting your mental peace is no longer just a nice lifestyle choice or a casual preference. It is a critical, life saving health decision. You can spend thousands of dollars on high end organic food, take every health supplement on the market, hit the gym daily, and follow your doctor's orders to the letter. But none of it will save your health if you willingly invite emotional turmoil into your home every single night. Emotional stability and physical longevity are deeply connected. If a relationship continuously spikes your stress levels, ruins your rest, and leaves you feeling drained, it isn't just annoying anymore. It is actively cutting years off your life. Losing your identity. The final, and perhaps most insidious trap an older man can fall into, is the slow, silent destruction of his own identity. This is not something that happens overnight in a single explosive argument. It is a subtle, creeping process that occurs in tiny, almost imperceptible increments over months or even years. It begins with small, seemingly harmless sacrifices. You stop participating in a hobby you have loved for decades simply because she finds it boring or complains about the time it takes away from her. You begin carefully filtering your words and hiding your true opinions during casual conversations just to avoid triggering a disagreement. Slowly but surely, you start altering your daily routines, giving up your personal habits, and completely restructuring your entire lifestyle to fit her preferences and quiet demands. Before you even realize what has taken place, the grounded, independent man you spent 6 decades building slowly vanishes into thin air. In his place stands someone who is constantly second guessing himself, walking on eggshells, and modifying his entire life just to keep someone else pleased and avoid conflict. Many older men tragically mistake this complete self abandonment for love, compromise, or romantic devotion. They convince themselves that sacrificing their own values, peace, and personal identity is simply the required price of late life companionship. You must see this situation for what it truly is. That isn't love, and it isn't healthy compromise. It is a form of quiet control. Genuine love and healthy companionship will always respect, honor, and support the man you already are, rather than demanding that you dismantle your life to make her comfortable. When you start surrendering who you are just to maintain a relationship, you lose the very self respect that made you strong in the first place. A woman who truly belongs in your life will encourage you to keep your passions, respect your personal boundaries, and celebrate your independence, rather than demanding that you rebuild your entire identity just to suit her expectations.